In the village of Niralapura, the traditional division of domestic labor is entirely inverted. The men perform the grueling physical work, from managing the fields to scrubbing pots, while the women spend their days in absolute leisure. This data illustrates a demographic where one group contributes 100% of the labor, while the other group claims 100% of the leisure. It is an extreme socio-economic split that leaves no room for error. Rangana is a primary example of this daily grind. He starts his day before dawn, struggling to light wet firewood to cook breakfast and clean the home. His reward is a sharp reprimand from his wife, Sushila, because her morning coffee wasn't ready immediately. A system that relies on the total exhaustion of one group to fund the total relaxation of another is inherently unstable. Eventually, the group doing the work will reach a breaking point. The physical evidence of this imbalance is everywhere. At the lake, men gather to wash clothes, their hands bruised and bodies aching from managing both the farm work and every household chore. The women, however, remain entirely detached from this effort. They spend their time resting and discussing which new saris they want their husbands to buy, even plotting ways to extract more money from the men's daily vegetable sales. This tension surfaces at the local market. While the men try to explain how difficult it is to grow fresh produce and earn enough to survive, the women mock their complaints. They see the labor as something that simply happens, without considering the effort involved. This detachment creates a massive empathy deficit. Because the women never perform the labor themselves, they lose the ability to perceive the physical cost of their own lifestyle. To them, the coffee and the clean clothes are just facts of life, not products of work. This total blindness to the mechanics of survival makes the women ignore the growing resentment in their own homes. They believe the current system is permanent, unaware the workers are already planning a way out. The men of Niralapura eventually realize that individual complaining simply changes nothing. They organize a secret meeting, huddled in a shadowy room to discuss how to address their situation as a unified group. They decide to stop asking for empathy and start using their only source of leverage, the work itself. The plan is an indivisible labor strike. Instead of a loud protest, they simply stop working. Every man in the village agrees to feign a severe illness the following morning, leaving the households to run themselves. Success depends on total solidarity. No fires can be lit, no meals can be cooked, and no one can break rank, regardless of the pressure or verbal abuse from their wives. The village depends on thousands of small, daily tasks to function. By walking away from those tasks simultaneously, the men are forcing the women to confront the reality of how the village actually stays alive. At 8 a.m., the strike begins. Sushila wakes up to an empty kitchen and an ice-cold stove. When she demands her coffee, Rangana refuses to move, claiming he is far too ill to stand up. This map shows the failure spreading. House by house, the domestic engine of the village shuts down. Within an hour, every single home has lost its cook, its cleaner, and its laborer. For the first time, the women are forced to do the work themselves. They enter kitchens they haven't touched in years, attempting to perform the basic tasks they once took for granted. The results are disastrous. Lacking the necessary skills, they try to force the stoves to light by pouring kerosene onto the wood. Instead of a cooking fire, they create clouds of thick, dark smoke that billow out of the windows. By sunset, the women have failed to produce even a single meal. The only food they've managed to make is a pot of burnt, inedible rice gruel. The sense of superiority they felt that morning disappears as they face the hunger and the physical difficulty of just surviving the day. As night falls, the women sit by the road, hungry and exhausted. The reality of their own lack of skills begins to set in. They start remembering the specific effort their husbands put into every meal, like the lemon rice Rangana made every morning. They realize they spent years learning how to give orders, but never learned how to actually sustain their own lives. The women eventually gather to face the men. They admit they cannot run the village alone and offer an apology, recognizing that their previous lifestyle was built on someone else's suffering. Behavioral change at this scale usually requires more than just an argument. It requires the people in power to experience exactly what happens when the support system they rely on finally stops. The men agree to return to work, but only if the daily chores are divided equally. This diagram represents the new arrangement. Labor and rest are now distributed across the whole population. The strike ends with a village celebration. The men and women work together to cook a massive feast, marking a new agreement for how the village will operate moving forward. Niralapura's daily routine changes. The men continue farming, but the women take over half of the household tasks and begin producing skilled crafts. No one is left to do everything alone. Because the work is shared, the tasks are finished faster. The resentment that used to define the village is replaced by a sense of mutual contribution, allowing everyone to enjoy actual rest. The village no longer functions as two separate groups, one that works and one that watches. Instead, the survival of the village has become a collaborative effort, where the weight of daily life is carried by everyone together.